framework. Just a couple of little bits of housekeeping. We will be muting your mics this morning, but if there are any queries or questions that arise during the presentation, please do put them in the chat box and we will address those at the end of the session, and we'll also take any additional questions on the floor. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over to Mr. Dan O'Neill, Director at Knowles Fleet. Over to you, Dan.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dave, and it's nice to meet you all. So just a quick introduction to myself. So yeah, my name's Dan and I'm from Knowles Fleet, and we provide sustainable fleet schemes across the public sector. So I've got a slideshow for today, so I'll just share the screen and then run through. And if anyone's got any questions, then as Dave said, feel free to either pop your hand up or wait until the end where there's a question and answer section. Right, can everybody see that okay? Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, definitely. It's on the screen, Dan.
Super, thank you. Right, so for the agenda for today, you might have seen in the invite, but it was just to cover off a brief introduction into the framework, who we are as a fleet provider, what a salary sacrifice car is, just in case you haven't come across them before, the benefits to yourselves as an organisation in providing a vehicle to your employees, just a brief explanation of why people are now looking so much at electric cars under these schemes as opposed to conventional petrol fueled vehicles. I'll give you a live demonstration of the quotation platform. I've got a list of some frequently asked questions, and then it's over to yourselves if you've got anything else that you want to know. So first of all, it's just a brief overview of the NWPC framework. So you can access it via the HE contracts and see some further information and receive some guides on there. There are currently 4 lots on there, and we're on lot 4, which is dedicated to just doing salary sacrifice schemes across the public sector arrangements. So start with a little bit about ourselves, just in case you're not aware of who we are. So what makes us unique in this space is that we're a 100% employee-owned business. So you may be aware of the John Lewis business model. So back in May 2020, 100% of the ownership of the company was transferred into an employee ownership trust, and now every single staff member has a vested interest in making sure that the business is successful and will benefit overall from the success. It's worked really well for us, and in the last 4 years we've increased our fleet size by about 50%, and we've also increased our staff numbers by a similar number. We've been in the car scheme sector for 38 years, started off initially within the NHS, coming from an actual department within the NHS itself, and since then it's grown, so we don't just provide it to the healthcare settings now, we provide it to police forces, to universities, councils, and a lot of other organisations within the private sector as well. We're not a leasing company, so we don't actually own or fund the vehicles or carry any risk on them. We're a fleet administration company, so what our role is to administer your scheme and make sure that everything is run smoothly and that you're receiving the best possible service and the best price from a variety of sources, utilising public sector discounts. We've currently got 25,000 vehicles on fleet approximately, and just over 200 customers in total now. Our staff base is currently 60, and we are in the process of taking on a few more following some recent contract wins. And the team is broken down into various departments, providing full support from start to end, covering from initial quotation stage to providing advice and support, to covering off what vehicles are available, to ordering, and then full customer service in life support. So if anyone gets any parking fines, any parking permits, got any questions about the vehicles or the maintenance side of things, so the servicing or the breakdowns, we've got experts on hand to provide that level of support. We've got our own software as well, so we don't use an off-the-shelf product because what we do is quite unique. Being an individual supplier, we had to make our own. So we've got our own website, got our own background systems, and it's got live ties in to various funders in order to guarantee the lowest prices. What is a salary sacrifice car? So I don't know how many of you will be familiar with a salary sacrifice arrangement, but in the sense of a company car scheme, it's a legal agreement between an employee and an employer to adjust their salary entitlement in exchange for a company car. So as a brief guide, before there's an employee that's on £40,000 a year, so they get their salary, they pay their income tax, they pay their NI, they pay their pension, get the take-home pay. What we're proposing is that the university or your organisation actually provide them with a company car. But if you did that, it would cost you. So what a salary sacrifice arrangement does is it allows you to vary the employee's salary to a lower amount. So in this example, £35,000 plus a company car. The benefits to the employee of that arrangement is because the employee's salary is less, the amount of salary that's subject to income tax, national insurance, and pension contributions will all reduce. You will pay some company car tax on the vehicle that you've been given, but if you choose an electric or low emission vehicle, then the tax difference will still be beneficial to you. It has really grown in publicity in the last few years. So I'd say since probably April 2020, when HMRC changed the tax system to company cars to promote EVs, we've seen a sharp increase. It's about 90% of our order bank now is for pure electric vehicles. From an employee's perspective, they'll say, well, what do we get within the arrangement? So the scheme is all inclusive. They'll have fully comprehensive insurance, which allows for themselves as the employee and 2 additional drivers as standard within the scheme. If you've got your own insurance policy as a organisation, then you could use that, and in which case you may be able to have more additional drivers as well. It's a fully inclusive package which covers the servicing and the maintenance. So if there's any tyres that need changing, the vehicle breaks down and needs to be recovered, everything is all wrapped in. So they'll have a dedicated line that they can ring and they can get all that booked. And there's no quibble tyres as well. So if it was that they got a puncture, then it doesn't matter. It'll still be returned. There's no wear or tear limits on that. In the unfortunate event of an accident, then employees will be able to go onto our website, report their accident, and be promoted over to their nearest accident repair centre. So if you as an organisation want to promote local business, then we can get local small repairers added onto our national register, and they'll be picked up as a location that they can be sent to. As I touched on previously, we've got 60 members of staff now, so there's always someone on hand, either via telephone, live chat, email, or post that they can get in contact with, and just make sure that they're fully supported on the journey. The benefits to you as an organisation. So there's 3 key areas for this. One is there could be a financial saving because the employee's salary is less. You can make a reduction in your employer's national insurance and pension contribution depending on the arrangements. So there's a financial gain. What you then decide to do with that is up to you. So within our schemes, what we can do is we can actually recycle that back to the employees so that you can make the car scheme cheaper and you can run it just as a low level return cost to cover your admin, which works really, really well. And we're finding more employers are actually doing that at the moment because the key objective of providing a car scheme to the employees was for them to have an environmentally friendly vehicle so that it helps with your sustainability targets and also provide an employee boost. So at the moment, whilst public sector pay is quite constrained and there's not large increases predicted, you can actually provide a benefit which isn't going to cost you as an organisation anything. So you've got a happy staff member who then isn't looking to maybe go elsewhere, which will then save you in recruitment costs. But we don't just provide one size fits all options. So if we were to move ahead with this, then we'd discuss each of them individually and make sure that the scheme we set up is right for your organisation and your employees. And just some information now on the tax benefits of an electric car. So I've grabbed an example of an MG4, which is a really popular vehicle within our schemes, particularly in the public sector, because they're leasing really well at the moment. And as I've explained already, it is classified as a company car, so HMRC will tax you upon the perceived benefit in kind value of that vehicle. So the reason that EVs are doing really well is that currently the benefit in kind tax is just 2% of the list price. And to put that into context, the highest value that you can have is a 37% of the list price if it's a high emission vehicle. Back in 2019-20 tax year, EVs were all the way up at 16%. So there has been a real shift to try and assist with the uptake of electric cars. So in this example, this vehicle was approximately £28,000 new, and that is the value that HMRC would say you have to apply the benefit in kind tax upon. So just 2% of the list price, benefit in kind is £560. So from a tax perspective, an employee might give up £5,000 a year of their salary and save tax on that value, but they would only have to pay income tax on the £560, which is the perceived benefit that they're receiving. So as a 20% taxpayer, that's just £9.33 a month. 40% taxpayer is £18.66. And that's recovered in a variety of ways, either via recovery of tax code reduction or directly at source via the payroll system, which will give full support throughout. So the next section I wanted to cover off is our quotation platform. So this is a screenshot of the platform ahead, and just to give you advanced sight of how the platform works is that once you select your vehicle, that vehicle selection is then fired off to the panel of funders on the right hand side of the screen. So we receive back a price from every single leasing company. We then sort that into values and grab the lowest price. So what we can guarantee is that every single vehicle that's provided to employees has gone for a vigorous pricing exercise to make sure the top line sacrifice is as low as possible, which in turn will increase the number of employees that are able to join the scheme because of the national minimum wage. So if you bear with me, I'll just get onto the website and I'll share the screen with you. Right, I'm hoping everyone can see that now. Yeah, lovely. So for this example, I've actually got a test account under the University of Wales, which we already provide a salary sacrifice car scheme on. And once you log into the platform, if you've already got a vehicle with us, you'll be presented with information about what car it is, when it ends, and what your current payment is. Because one of the most common questions we had when someone came up for renewal was, well, I've had this car for 2.5 years now. I can't remember what I'm paying. So we just give them a quick refresh. Once you've applied for a vehicle, this will act as your summary page, so you can see where you are within the sign-off process, either with HR or with finance to confirm that you meet the eligibility criteria. And once the vehicle's been ordered, you'll then get weekly updates on here to confirm when the vehicle is expected, and if there's been any changes, so if it's been brought forward or there's been a delay, then the team will get in touch with you. To get a quotation, you can select here, so you can select the term of the contract. So the most common term is 36 months, but we can do for this organisation 24, but we can also do 48 as well if we wanted to get the price lower for staff as well. So for select here the MG, as I touched on in the slides, choose your make, choose your model, choose the derivative of the vehicle. So this is in price order, the cheapest one will be at the start. It then fires off to our image provider to get you an idea of what that car is, just in case you weren't too sure about the exact vehicle look. You can then choose your colouring, and that will then change the image on the screen. And the last thing you have to select is the interior. Once that's done, This is now firing off to all of the funders that I had on the slideshow, getting the price back, getting the insurance price based upon the insurance group of the vehicle, the age of the driver, and any additional drivers that you wish to add as well. And then it presents the cost to you on a monthly basis. So in this example, it's £244 per month. That is the net cost. So that's the difference between the take-home pay before the arrangement and after. We'll give the employees a full breakdown of how that amount was calculated. So in this example here, £353 is the top line sacrifice. So that is the amount that employees would see on their payslip. Because it's coming off of gross pay, national insurance, income tax, and possibly pension, depending on what pension scheme the employee is in, will be reduced. We do have the setup so that if you as one organisation have various pension schemes, such as the University of Wales, then we could set that up individually. So a staff member would pick if they're in USS, or they'd pick if they're in the local government or the NHS pension. Once we've added up all the savings, we'll confirm the car benefit tax liability, which is 2% of the list price at your tax rate, and then the net cost. So from an employee's perspective, they can see here instantly how the figures have been calculated. They could get in touch with our quotation support team if they've got any queries to see how the arrangement would impact them if there's any changes, say. And then they'll also have confirmation further down in detail. So if they want to see an exact, in detail text explanation of how the arrangements have been derived, then they can see that on site as well. You'll also have confirmation of your early termination penalties and excess mileage rates. So because this is on a public sector arrangement, there's some really discounted terms behind the scenes. So for mileage, it's for an EV 10p per mile, and that works both ways. So if you go over mileage, it's 10p, and if you go under mileage, you'll get a rebate as an employee as well. And that works really well because what we found from taking on other clients previously is the scheme wouldn't give any rebates under a different provider. So all staff were doing was underestimating their mileage and then receiving large charges at the end. So this way gives full flexibility to the employee, and they have the ability to change in life as well. The early termination costs are based upon the actual rental of the vehicle. So it's 5 months rental in year 1, 3 months in year 2, and just 1 month in year 3. And if someone was to return the vehicle early, that's all dealt with by our customer service team. So there won't be any input at all from your organisation. From here, an employee can go back and forth to the quotation page, select different vehicles and get unlimited quotes 24/7, or they can continue and they can then provide us with further information in order for us to actually order the vehicle. So it's quite a quick demonstration of the site, but if anyone would like to have a separate run throughs, a one-to-one basis, then I'll be more than happy to set one up. Just go back to the slides for you. So the last,
sorry, Dan.
That's fine. I was just got the last section I wanted to just cover off was a couple of FAQs. So when I've done presentations before, there always seems to be a similar question bank at the end. So I thought I'd just cover off some key ones, which hopefully will give you some steer. So are there any setup costs? No, there's no setup costs involved in doing this. Everything is covered by us, from getting you set up as a customer to establishing accounts with the leasing companies and the liaising directly with the NWPC from a contractual perspective. There's no minimum order commitment, so you could have this set up, you could offer it out to your employees, and if for whatever reason there was only 1 or 2 employees who wish to go ahead based upon the size of the organisation, there's no backlash on that. As long as it's provided out to employees, then that's fine. How much work is involved for us? And obviously that's a key one, because no one wants to introduce an employee benefit which is going to cause a significant amount of administration. So because we specialise in the administration, we've analysed every aspect of the scheme to make it as admin light as possible. So you as an organisation would be limited to signing off the salary information to make sure that it's correct based upon the employee's input. If it is, then there's an additional form which is just an authorization to order request. So that's an email, secure link, open it up and then just confirm that you're happy for this employee to have a vehicle. Once that's done, everything is done by our team, from doing the ordering to checking the schedules to progressing to actually arranging delivery of that car. Once the vehicle's then materialised and been delivered to the employee, payroll and finance would receive a monthly file just to confirm the vehicles that have gone out, confirm the amounts you need to recover from pay, and what values you need to pay us in regards to the provision of the vehicle. So that will cover everything from the rentals, the insurance, and any other costs associated with the vehicle. What materials do you provide? So we've got a full suite of materials covering off the addendum to the contract of employment with the employee, which has been verified by our external tax advisors, PS Tax, as compliant. We'll provide leaflets, brochures, and we can also do on-site events as well. If there's one location which has got a decent number of staff footfall, then we can send the team up and then we can possibly bring along a vehicle as well. What is the risk to us? So because you're providing an employee with a company car, essentially, there are some risks associated with that, such as someone who leaves or they go on to long-term sick. So we've got provisions in place to provide protection for you as an organisation, so that if any of them events does happen, then it's not going to be a cost to your organisation because it's already been covered within the scheme design and the charges are made by employees on a monthly basis. And then can we change the scheme? Yes, you certainly can. So we don't just do schemes for electric vehicles. We've got many customers that actually set a CO2 limit. So you can then say, well, we're happy to provide vehicles up to 75 grams, which is the salary sacrifice cutoff for plug-in hybrids. Or you may actually decide that you're happy at the moment to provide a small petrol car, such as a self-charged Yaris hybrid, which will then be shown on the site. You could also change the way the savings are dealt with to promote uptake of certain vehicles and to promote general uptake of the scheme. So that's the slides I had put together today. So I don't know if anyone had any questions or if anything's come up in the chat at all, Dave.
Thanks, Dan. There's one question come through, and it reads as follows. Is it possible for low salary workers to benefit from this incentive? If not, how do we justify a benefit that is perceived as only being of benefit to certain salary bands instead of to everybody?
Lovely. So good question. With the salary sacrifice scheme, an employee can't go below the national minimum wage. So in April, the minimum wage is going up to £11.44 an hour, which as a full-time employee is about £22,300 a year. So whatever the vehicle is, can't push the employee below that amount. In the public sector, there will be some salary bands where you can't get a vehicle, even with the best will in the world, by making a minimal or no saving from providing that arrangement. So what we've got in addition to the salary sacrifice payment option is the ability to pay from net pay. So alongside sacrifice, you would see a net deduction value, and that could then be opened up to all staff, regardless of salary, because the values fall outside of the national minimum wage criteria. So we've probably got about 25% of our fleet under that arrangement because of the salary bands, and particularly like community staff where they need a vehicle for work, you need to help them get the vehicle, and that's a great way that you can do that.
There's a question that's come through from Simon.
Yeah.
Do you offer your service across the UK?
Yes, we provide the whole of the UK, and we've also got quite a big presence now in Northern Ireland as well. So we do the electricity network over there. There's about 7 or 8 other businesses we've set up in the last 6 months. So yes, we do the whole of the UK.
One quick question from myself, Dan, if that's okay. I know in previous conversations we've spoken about the tax burden on our colleagues in Scotland changing next month.
Yes.
Did your examples, did they include the Scottish element, or were they for UK as a whole at present?
So what we've got set up in the database is that if a client is based in Scotland and they have employees under the Scottish tax system, then we toggle it on the database to confirm that. And then when the employee types in the tax code, begin with an S prefix, then that will use the Scottish tax rate tables, because there's 4 or 5 different options now as opposed to just 20, 40, 45. So we've prepared for that, and that's operational, ready to roll.
Brilliant. Really appreciate that, Dan. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the floor that they'd like to put forward to Dan whilst we've still got him with us? We've
Jeanette.
got a question from Jeanette. Hopefully,
Hi.
David will be able to unmic you there. It looks like he
Hi.
has.
A problematic Scottish taxpayer. No, I'm only joking. Just to check the salary sacrifice relative to the gross salary, it's the pensionable aspect that's interesting, I suppose. I've seen salary sacrifice where it doesn't impact on the pensionable salary, but clearly if it does, that's a problem, because it's a very short-term view that you're making a saving now to impact on your pensionable salary. I just wanted to check when you made reference to it varying in organisations.
It depends on the T's and C's of your pension scheme. So if it's USS, which is the most common one within the university space, then that doesn't impact the pension. So pensionable pay remains the same before and after sacrifice. If you've got staff under the LGPS, the local government, then the standard setup for that is that it will impact pensionable pay. So the employee's salary will come down, therefore pensionable pay comes down. So ultimately, we do have a lot of information on our FAQs that the employee will read, so they can see the impact to them. But it's over to them to make a decision whether or not they feel that at this stage, because they're getting a car a lot cheaper than they can get privately, that it's beneficial. So, for example, I've got a car on our car scheme. Pensionable pay goes down, so you set up a SIP, and then you just pay the payment separately, or you could do AVCs if you're allowed to do that as well. So you can make it back up and still be cheaper.
Yep. Okay. Thanks very much.
Appreciate that, Janet. Thank you very much indeed. So as we approach 11, have we got any final queries or questions for Dan before we let him go? Okay, Dan, on behalf, I think we've got a question coming through from Stuart. If you'd prefer to do it verbally, Stuart. Yeah, I think he's just saying thank you. That was my fault. Okay, so on behalf of everybody that was able to give up their time this morning, thank you very much, Dan. Very informative, a really good half hour invested there. So thank you very much indeed for presenting this morning. Hope everybody else has a great rest of the day. And of course, if you do have any further issues, queries or questions, by all means go to Dan directly or go to your own consortia, or even more so, come to me and I can put you together. Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Lovely.
Enjoy.
Thank you all.
Take care.
See
Thank you again. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.